Anyways, we're moving on here. Just going across these. It's important. We gotta maintain the height here, and there's no other way to get up to these. Anyway, this one's kind of tough, but ooh, all right, we're good. We made it up. Okay, so yeah, you can't bounce on your cat more than once, and I feel like the proper way to start a retrospective on the going on 4-year-old Super Mario Odyssey would be to present a big spiel on Mario's history leading up to its release. After all, Super Mario Odyssey's whole thing is that it was a celebration of Mario's history throughout the years. However, the key word there is was, because we're at a point now where Super Mario Odyssey is also a part of Mario's history. Super Odyssey. For the sake of not saying it a million times over, I'm just going to be referring to Super Mario Odyssey as just Odyssey. So just so you know, I'm not talking about Assassin's Creed or Honda. Anyways, the joke machine is on low battery after that nonsense, so let me be serious. Super Mario Odyssey might be my favorite game. It's just so nostalgic to me because I'm a dumb teenager, but is it deserving of such a title? I suppose that's why I'm making this video, and maybe I'll feel differently by the end of this script. So I'm not going to break down who Mario is because we all know what we're here for, but before we dive into the deep end, let's start at the beginning of Odyssey's history. I feel like you can't really talk about Odyssey without talking about the turnover from Wii U to Switch. Now I'm someone who actually likes the Wii U. I thought it had some great games, and I honestly don't mind the gamepad so much, but the Wii U was not the big swinging successor Nintendo needed at the time. Fumbled marketing and minimal creative application of the hardware are one thing, but allow me to explain my hot take when I say that the Wii U didn't have enough heavy-hitting games to appease casual or core fans. For example, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is a game I love so much. It's so creative in its level design, and I could go on and on about the ways it succeeds as a sequel, but when it comes down to the average unaware consumer making a choice at their local Best Buy, it's just another Donkey Kong Country Returns, which they already own, compatible with their Wii U via backwards compatibility. Zelda, Kirby, Pokemon, Metroid, they all missed mainline franchise releases on the Wii U. I know Pokemon is generally a handheld-focused franchise, but gamepad compatibility could have been implemented in creative ways. At least we got Star Fox Zero. Smash 4, Splatoon, and Mario Kart 8 really carried the back half of the console's lifespan. And again, I want to stress that all these games are good, but they're no 1-2 switch. We knew that a new Zelda game was in development for the Wii U, but we didn't get our hands on it until it was too late for the console. Enter the Nintendo Switch reveal trailer on October 20th, 2016. Holy shit, this thing can play Mario? I just love this trailer. There is something so pleasant about it, and I mean it's designed that way on purpose. It feeds into gamers' base instincts of having some chill campaign cruising, being united as one, and having cool hip friends that hang out on rooftops with Mario. I'm sure most people were quickly drawn to Zelda Breath of the Wild, but the big dog critics like myself weren't on board until we saw King Boo in Mario Kart. Seriously though, the first year of the Switch was the most competitive Nintendo had been since the Super Nintendo. It was an exciting time to be a fan. There were experimental titles, great multiplayer experiences. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out, but I'm a Nintendo fan so I don't like JRPGs. And finally, the two big drops. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Super Mario Odyssey. Well, we wouldn't start to learn about any of these details until the Nintendo Switch presentation nearly 3 months later, on January 12, 2017. In the meantime, I must have watched this 10-second clip of this mysterious new Mario game 50 plus times. I genuinely hadn't been this excited for a game in a long time. Well, finally that presentation came, and we got to see this new Mario game in a full reveal trailer. Holy shit, this is Mario? Okay, seriously, this trailer is also great because it shows us so much without giving away everything the game had to offer. It's something I think the later showcases struggled with. The camera pans over a detailed busy city before Mario pops out of the manhole cover as Nintendo is silently saying, yeah, this is Mario now. We got to see 4 different kingdoms and Mario's classic moveset returning from 64 as the camera pans over these new giant open areas. Then we are shown ways our hack can boost our moveset with the final name drop and Cappy. Lots to love here, and I don't want to talk about every single trailer, but there was one more big showcase for E3 2017. Holy shit, that's Mario! If the first trailer was the setup for the premise of Odyssey, then this trailer was just the fun trailer. Jump Up Superstar plays in the background as Mario is messing around with the varied costumes and the capture mechanic is just casually revealed. Finally, we get to see the pan up to the sky with the release date casually popping up on screen. October 27? I think we were all surprised to see how soon this was because initially the game was slated for a holiday release date. Though I do suppose Halloween counts as a holiday. It's become a tradition for me to ignore friends and grind out all night with the Plumber Brothers on Halloween since then. Sure, I could go to some dumb party, or I could steal a guy's hands and punch him in the face. So that first playthrough then on the release date, I remember running home from school and even had that stupid hat from GameStop, so I was ready for anything. For real, that first playthrough was magical. The possibilities seemed endless, and there were so many things to do. The captures were exciting and the movement was fresh and rewarding. The kingdoms were diverse and the bosses were surprising. There were so many moons to collect and you always had that feeling in your stomach that the next wonderful moment was right around the corner because it just always was. Odyssey has so many new ideas and there's so much to wrap your head around that I don't even know where to begin organizing this retrospective in a sensical way. How about the movement? Movement has played a big part in every Mario game. I did a video on it about a year ago talking about the movement in 2D Mario, but I haven't talked a ton about 3D Mario movement. 64 opened the door for how Mario could control, and it wasn't exciting because it was 3D, but because you had so many options to choose from and they all felt natural. The triple jump was like a little mini-game about timing and spacing, which made that action rewarding. The long jump is a quick boost to get across a gap that doesn't make you lose any momentum. The dive allows you to get farther, but is risky because you have the potential to slide off. What makes this fun is that these moves are exaggerated extensions of real life. You can't actually triple jump into a wall jump in real life. Trust me, I've tried, it didn't go well. The freedom of exaggerated movement is just a feeling we've always wanted to have, and that's why it feels so familiar. Sunshine and Galaxy took different approaches that were more suited to their themes and level design. Linear levels gave Galaxy the chance to showcase more ideas at a rapid pace, but the movement had to be reined in to make sure the player didn't just skip everything. What's great about Odyssey is that it does the unthinkable in extending Mario's moveset even further beyond 64. All the classic moves are back with some new ones too, like the roll and the ground pound jump. Then Cappy is thrown into the mix, and things start to get really crazy. Cappy essentially gives you one extra jump in the air, which can be chained into wall jumps and dives, giving the players way more options. Everyone that's played Odyssey is familiar with the jump, cap, throw, dive, bounce, cap, throw, dive, because it's such a fun combo to pull off that gives you height and distance. It's why this clip I showed you at the start was kind of unnerving. It breaks the rule set that we've all come to trust. This extended moveset sounds like it might break the game in half, which, I mean, it kinda does, but Odyssey's open-ended nature welcomes new ways of exploring levels. This is likely why the speedrunning community for this game is so big. Even more casual players could understand simple skips by using Mario's moveset in creative ways. The routing and rerouting of levels is always exciting, and nowadays speedrunners can beat Odyssey in under an hour. One of my favorite skips from the old speedruns was the Jaxi Temple skip because it wasn't too difficult to pull off, but it looked incredibly flashy. It also skips an entire sub-area. Then there of course is the classic moon skip that lets you completely bypass the entire last level. My one complaint is that even the hardest levels in the game become fairly easy once you've mastered the movement, and there are any other challenges that require you to use most of it anyway. More on that later, but despite this misstep, I'm confident in saying that Odyssey's Mario is my favorite character to control in any video game. But that's not the only way Mario moves in this game. It's time to talk about the captures. Most Nintendo games are designed to focus on one mechanic and they'll have most other ideas service that focus. In Luigi's Mansion, it's the vacuum. In Pikmin, it's the Pikmin. And in Odyssey, it's Cappy. That means Cappy doesn't just serve the movement, but lots of things scattered throughout the world can interact with Cappy in little sparks that make the game more lively. The main course of these interactions are the captures. Power-ups are no more in Odyssey, and instead Mario can capture different things in the world to use their abilities. These captures make the game more varied and interesting over time, but there is also the simple pleasure of just seeing what it would be like to play as a Goomba or something. However, a big mistake an inexperienced studio could make would be to think that simply adding characters to a game would stop it from becoming boring. Take a look at the game, everything. Now, to be fair, this is more of a digital modern art installation than an actual video game, but the points I make should still stand. You can be hundreds of different things in this game. Literally everything you see on screen right now is a thing you can play as. However, every object essentially controls the same. You can move around and that's it. This isn't a game mechanic, and it wouldn't service the platforming if Odyssey implemented its captures like this, but thankfully the Odyssey team did a pretty good job in creating captures that are fun and dynamic to control. This clip from earlier with the Jaxie skip can only be done with the bullet bill, which lets you fly for a short period of time before exploding. The Gushin isn't great because you can be a flying purple octopus, but it's great because once you capture it, you've unlocked new ways of traversal and new challenges to take on. Like the triple jump, the best captures are a little minigame in themselves, and their movesets will inspire you to get creative with your abilities. There are over 50 captures in the game, and that means Odyssey never stays in one idea for too long, but the game also knows when to bring the, funner captures back. This grammatical error makes a good segue into the negative aspects of the captures. There are a lot of one-off captures that you'll use only once to get a moon, and some of these are kinda cute like the tree in Mario Letters, but some of these could have been implemented in more creative ways. I mean, the reveal of being able to play as a T-Rex is shocking, but compared to the other more dynamic captures, you'll experience everything it has to offer pretty quickly. That being said, I caught myself in a lie there, because less than a week after Odyssey's initial release, an unintentional skip was found with the dinosaur where you can get to the boss really quickly. That kinda ties into the clever structure of how the level will introduce you to a new capture with increasingly difficult challenges up to the boss. I did a video on Odyssey's bosses before, but despite their faults, you have to appreciate how they implemented the captures you've learned to use throughout the level. Whether it's the Cascade Chain Chomps against Madame Brood, or the tanks against the Mecha Wiggler. But we gotta talk about two things. One, I kinda hate how the tank controls. I didn't really know where else to fit this in, but I just wanted to share. Anyways, two is that we've got to talk about the kingdoms. I would say I've been very kind to Odyssey so far, but the kingdoms are where the game's bigger faults arise. But let's talk about the positives first. A lot of Odyssey's kingdoms are great. They act as giant hubs for collectibles and smaller linear challenges. I also appreciate the theming in levels. No particular level is wildly original, but I think the slight twist on popular level themes work well for a series like Mario. The Cascade Kingdom is a dinosaur twist on a basic starting grass level, and the Wooded Kingdom is simultaneously a forest and construction site level. My favorite version of this is the Luncheon Kingdom. The twist on the food level is that it's a blocky low poly art style. That being said, there are some weird choices like having two water levels that I found to be too similar to be justified as separate kingdoms. I also wish some of the kingdoms went further with their concept. The Metro, Wooded, and Sand Kingdoms feel filled out, but I wish we could see a little more from the colorful jungles of the Lost Kingdom or the icy blizzards of the Snow Kingdom. I think sacrificing one or two kingdoms to make these ones more fleshed out would have been worth it. Final point here is that I wish there were more contrast in tone between these kingdoms. All of them feel the same bubbly and charming, which I understand is the deliberate tone of the game, but even the thick black lines of the Hat Kingdom are filled with overly cheery characters. The Ruin Kingdom is so refreshing the first time around because it's genuinely an exciting shift in tone as you barrel towards the end of the game. Then you realize it's just a glorified boss arena. While the dragon is badass, it's still pretty disappointing. That being said, what we do have is really great. In the Sand Kingdom, you can mess around in the ruins, visit the oasis, solve puzzles with the Moai, explore the icy caverns, and run wild with the Jaxie. These open hub areas are fun to explore, but I think I like the sub areas just as much. These are short, linear challenges behind doors or pipes. Every single one explores a unique idea, and I love the guarantee of there always being the main moon at the end of the level, and the alternate moon hidden as a secret or locked behind a harder challenge. These are almost always fun to complete, and I loved finding all the hidden moons especially. The captures fit thematically with their levels, and there were a lot of ways to get around the kingdom. You can usually find a glidon at the top of a kingdom as a useful means of traversal. When in doubt, you can always warp between checkpoints. Each kingdom has a shop where you can buy souvenirs and costumes, which is a great way to make the game feel like an adventure. These can only be bought with the limited amount of purple coins in each kingdom, and though it was kind of annoying to locate the final few when going for 100%, they were a good side to the main collectibles. The bosses in each kingdom had fun character designs, but they did fall into some of the traps that other Mario bosses do. It's not all that interesting to do a simple hit on a boss and then wait for their invulnerable attack phase to finish to repeat the process. Actually, the best bosses in the game were the Brutals. Though on the surface these guys may seem like Koopaling replacements, their fights are way better because the skilled players can skip that annoying invulnerable attack phase. Whether it's hopping on Rango when he stands up or hitting Spewer's hat back. It increases the skill ceiling of these fights in a way that lets players experiment. So overall the kingdoms are solid, but there are a few changes that could be made for the next 3D Mario game. I'm gonna wedge this section in here for lack of a better place to put it. The OST of Mario Odyssey definitely has the passion and color you would expect from Mario, and although it may not be as memorable as Super Mario Galaxy's OST, there are still some classics in here. Cascade and Seaside Kingdom have wonderfully catchy themes, and Jump Up Superstar is truly a gem. Then of course, there's the Jaxi theme. Alright, so we've talked about all the main features in Super Mario Odyssey's design, except for one, the moons. If you do a little digging, it's clear that Odyssey is the next logical step for the mainline 3D Mario games. Galaxy was linear and well received, but fans wished for some of the open-ended 64 identity to come back. Galaxy 2 and 3D World added optional bonus challenges in Secret Stars and Green Stars, but they hadn't quite reached the perfect balance. Odyssey attempted to bring back the open-ended hubs with linear challenges as a side, but I think it might have gone too far in trying to balance things. There are a few contrasting things in Odyssey that make the moons problematic. One is that there are too many of them compared to how many are actually required. In each kingdom, you only have to get a small fraction of the moons available to unlock the next kingdom. There isn't the slightest incentive to get more until the post-game. This means that each individual moon doesn't have as much value as I think it should. Stars in Mario Galaxy were precious and few and far between. Power moons, in contrast, are sometimes way too easy to nab. Take a look at this infamous moon sitting on this easily accessible cliff right here. This can be grabbed in 10 seconds, and the worst thing is, you only need one moon after completing the story in Cascade. You barely explore Cascade Kingdom at all on the first visit. The second problem is that the reward for collecting these moons kind of doesn't make sense. Sure, you'll unlock the next level, but why do I have to do all these in order? Why can't I explore Sand, Wooded, and Lake Kingdom as a level set at the same time? This worked great for the Galaxy games, with levels unlocking in groups before a larger star barrier, and it seems to go against Odyssey's open-ended nature to block your progression in such a stilted way. Now, even my suggestion isn't perfect, but the way it is now is kind of uninteresting. On a second playthrough, you notice how many annoying moons there are, and so you always collect the same few because that's all you need. Maybe I'm a hypocrite because I understand the reasons for such limited moon requirements. They want to give the player choice, but as I've just laid out in a weird backwards way, it doesn't give the player choice at all. This is all subjective, but I'll say something similar to what I said about the kingdoms. I think fewer but more challenging moons would have made collecting a more enjoyable experience. So what exactly am I saying? Well, maybe Super Mario Odyssey has too many moons and too many kingdoms, so they don't feel as worthwhile. Also, on some related note, all the hint art moons were slow and boring. They make you travel from one kingdom to another, which is tedious, and on my first playthrough, it confused me when I was going for 100%. But let's talk about the post-game. At 250 moons, you'll unlock the dark side of the moon, essentially just a brutal boss rush level. I actually kinda like this kingdom, not necessarily for the boss rush itself, but for all the side challenges it has. Every side room in this kingdom is a harder version of a side room in another kingdom, and these were genuinely some of my favorite challenges in the game. They were legitimately difficult at times in a no-nonsense way that the darker side just isn't. Oh yes, that's right, at 500 moons you'll unlock the darker side of the moon, a final tough platforming challenge that brings back a lot of the characters you've met throughout your journey. I have one question for Nintendo on this level. Why can you easily skip half the level with the glide on? Like, why can I do that? Nah, I'm just kidding. I actually don't have a huge problem with this level, and I think the ending is really bittersweet. You know what? I'll just play the clip. Identity. This is what this retrospective is all about. Mario's identity as a mascot for gaming is what makes him so special. So looking back, I'm not sure how I feel about half of this game being a giant reference to Mario's past. At the same time, it was exciting because it had been so long since fans got a truly new Mario experience, and all these references made Odyssey feel like a celebration of Mario's history. However, I wonder how this game will age as the game itself becomes a part of Mario's history. Unlocking the Mushroom Kingdom after beating the campaign is a great reward, but I can't help but wonder how much of this hype is just nostalgia for Super Mario 64. And is that even such a bad thing? Something to think about. So Odyssey 2, huh? Will it happen? Honestly, I don't know, but at the time of this recording, there are rumors that Nintendo EPD8 are working on a new Donkey Kong game. I suppose I could have made this video after this year's E3, but I didn't want a new game reveal to sway my opinions in any way. That being said, the Odyssey team did make a new Mario game after Odyssey. Let's talk about Bowser's Fury. Bowser's Fury was the new side game that came with the Super Mario 3D World port earlier this year. It's definitely a short experience that I 100% did in just a few hours, but it's clear that the developers are experimenting with ideas for the next mainline release. The movement from Odyssey is unfortunately gone in favor of the simplified 3D World movement, but all my other complaints about Odyssey are fixed here. There are a tight 100 cat shines, so each one feels legitimately valuable. The problem with collection requirements and progression is fixed as well, because this game exists in one big hub, with new areas opening up after a fair amount of shines are collected. Incredibly fun Plessy races carry you across the water between levels, and this big orange dino is reminiscent of controlling one of the better captures from Odyssey. All this achieved while still keeping most of what is great about Odyssey. I like this game so much, I beat it without jumping. I really can't wait to see what's next for 3D Mario. So the time has come for the conclusion. When I first played Super Mario Odyssey, it was without a doubt my favorite game of all time. So how do I feel about it nearly 4 years later? Well, I still like it a lot. The fluid movement especially makes me forgive most of its shortcomings. However, I don't know how many more times I'll be able to replay Odyssey because the second playthrough really shines a light on the imperfect structure of moon placement, rewards, and progression that affect the pacing in a negative way. So as the title in this video states, I'm not sure if I'd call the game timeless. I hope that makes some sense because Odyssey truly is a magical experience. I have so many fond memories of exploring the world for the first time that will stick with me for a long time. The sights, the sounds, the challenges, and the adventure, the game may not be timeless, but it truly is an Odyssey. Honda, you did it again.